And it span. I was like, please, and I kept envisioning 74, 73. I was already coming up with excuses to tell my wife, like, man, I'm sorry, it's gonna take 30 days. Hey, I'm gonna go work at, Chevron for a little bit. We'll be all right. I'm already figuring out the sell on her. But then it pops up and it says, when I took my licensing test, my NMLS test, and you need to hit 75 or greater, and if you fail, you gotta wait 30 days, right? When I was studying for my NMLS, I was in between jobs, right? And this is a personal story, try not to cry. I was in the process of leaving like a debt consolidation company, maybe 2010, 2011, this is after the market crash and I was out of the industry. I was working for a loan modification company. And so I was basically working for an attorney. And working with this attorney, we sold loan modifications, bankruptcy services or whatever. And we're doing real good. My wife actually got me into it. And so I was selling literally $60,000, $80,000 bankruptcy retainers for what's called Chapter 11 bankruptcies. Long story short, we were killing it. But she then shortly after got back into mortgage lending because that's where her experience was processing. And she used to hit me up and she's like, hey man, these dudes are... She's all, none of them know what the hell they're doing, but they're making like $10,000, $20,000 per month, which 20,000 was like twice as much as I was making because I was only at like 10 G's a month doing loan mods, right? Of course, definitely pay cut, but without mortgages, I was, the only thing I knew about mortgages was how bad it burnt me, right? Like I was really good at it, but when the market crashed, like, man, you can't get over that feeling. Anyway, long story short, she talked me back into getting into it. And I got a decorated past, boo. I'm not like your normal folk. So I got a record, I got a history, I got violations. I got some shit that really justifies the LOE, right? Like, okay, when I was 19, right, I got caught with a digi in my pocket and some bags because of this. Like, I have a decorated past. I'm not your normal individual. So that's why I was like, okay, I'm not likely to get into it, which I didn't really pay no mind to it. But the boy that I am, right, the salesmanship that I have, I wrote a really decorated letter as to why I did these crimes, why I was so stupid back in my youth, and why I deserve a chance to become a licensed loan officer. So anyway, that is against me, right? And outside of that, I was also sued by a couple past clients because I did negative amortized loan, right? The neg am loan. If you know anyone that's been in the business for a while, they'll know what the neg am loan was. Anyways, one of those clients that I sold that, ended up bringing me to court, and the lender that I was working with didn't back me up. So I had that on my case. So I had like literally a rap sheet, bro. It was like Suge Knight. Suge Knight trying to apply to be an MLO. You're not gonna be an MLO, bro. That's how the way I felt. Because I had a rap sheet. I was like, man, I got a lot of these violations. They're not going to take me. They're very strict. So I did this LOE. It was very scary because as I started it, which is a 30 to 60 day process, I was laid off from a company that closed down because they became a lender. When they closed down that company, they're like, hey, you would kill it as a loan officer. You got to be a loan officer, bro. Like, we're going to become a lender. You got to be a loan officer. And so I was like, yeah, I would love to, but you know what I mean? I'm Suge Knight in this bitch. I don't got a chance. But they didn't understand, this is fucking Aliso Viejo and shit. They're all, Suge who? Anyway, so long story short is that I went through the studying. I bought the cheapest course online, went through the whole testing and shit. And man, I remember studying so hard. My wife was the only one working. And she was literally the only one paying bills. And I'm sitting in this room. I'm like, man, I can't fail this test. So finally the test comes. And when you go in the test, right, those of you taking the test, you go into that quiet room and you got them big ass construction beats on and shit. Like you work with a jackhammer and they give you that dry erase, sheet of paper with a calculator. Like I touched the calculator once. I don't know why they give you a calculator, but I guess that was protocol. But you go in there and you expect like a 90-minute test. And so I'll never forget, bro, like after doing the whatever questions, they ask you like, hey, do you want to change any of the answers? And I was like, yeah, I do actually. So I changed like probably 25 answers. I swear to God, it was a lot. And then it asks you again, right? Like, it was like, all right, are you sure? Do you want to change? I'm like, man, why they keep asking me this shit? And so you like, all right, I probably went back and changed 3 more. And then you submit and then it says, hey, are you sure? I'm like, I don't know if I'm sure. Man, the pressure on me, bro, because regardless if I'm sure or not, if I pass or not, I got to call my wife, who's the sole income earner, right? Like, just your boy's been in the house, like in his PJs all day studying, section laws and all that shit. So I'm like, fuck, dude. If I fail, not only one, do I got to break it to my wife that, hey, your boy's stupid, he failed. But 2, I then got to find another job because I can't wait another 30 days, right? Like, this is my wife. She can't be the only responsible one for 30 more days. And so I'm like, all right, shit's done. Like, I really got to do this. And so it says, are you sure? I'm like, oh, please, God. So I hit submit. And if you remember when you took that test, that little spinning wheel, that loading wheel, that shit took forever, bro. I thought my shit was broke. I was raising my hand for a little bit. I was like, excuse me, my shit's broke. But it wasn't broke. And it span. I was like, please, and I kept envisioning 74, 73. I was already coming up with excuses to tell my wife, like, man, I'm sorry, it's gonna take 30 days. Hey, I'm gonna go work at, Chevron for a little bit. We'll be all right. I'm already figuring out the sell on her. But then it pops up and it says 75. 75, bro. So of the 25 questions that I changed, right? 25 answers that I changed, I always wonder to this day, did it get me to 75? Or was I at 90 and I was just overthinking shit? And I changed it, I brought that bitch down to 75. Whatever it is, I'm grateful because I passed. No cap, man. First thing I did was I stood up, in that quiet ass room, right? Quiet room, like you got the headphones and all. Like I stood up and I'm like, fuck yeah. Because what was going on through my mind at that time was they let your boy back. This is my second chance. This is, oh my God. Even though I understood that there would be a climb, even though I understood that it would be a different rodeo show, it would be a different game because of compliance, right? Even though I knew you couldn't make as much, what I did know was the opportunity in front of me. And the opportunity was this, is that my wife would tell me that there are 22, 23-year-old kids coming into work with Jordan basketball shorts and an all-white tee. They are working part-time, are making $20,000 a month. My wife said, like, babe, you got to get back in. You would completely smash it. And this is my boo. I can't tell her. I'm like, yeah, she already knew my background and all that. But it's things like that. Like when I passed, the emotions that run through my head, like, oh, fuck, we made it. But we didn't, because it was still a long journey from there, right? Like I had to go through 2 companies before I found the company I'm with. I had to go through that trial and error. So it's not like it happened overnight. I think that's something that a lot of people coming into the industry thought. It was like, okay, I'm licensed. Like you thought that bitch was a PhD. You thought you were a brain surgeon. You came in like, all right, man, I got NMLS license. Like, where's my $20,000 a month check? And then you got that minimum wage check and you're like, oh, wait, this is one that I signed up for. But the truth is, that's really what it is.